Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today we have Samantha Benson with us. She has a doctorate in physical therapy. She founded BrainHab Physical Therapy, which is a mobile clinic that specializes in multiple sclerosis. Her passion has always been in neurological rehab, and she is very happy to be spending her time with the MS community. Samantha, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this.
Great. I can't wait to share some of your amazing knowledge with the community. I was very happy and excited to learn from you. And I think there is a lot of value for people that live with MS to know, what's possible, what we can do, even if something happens. It gives a lot of, power and motivation, I believe. So I'm really excited for our conversation today. Why don't we start with you telling the listeners what exactly you do?
Yeah, so, as you mentioned, I founded BrainHab Physical Therapy, which is rehab for your brain. I thought about just, being more general and just focusing on the neurological rehab, but I decided to specialize in multiple sclerosis because not a lot of physical therapists just focus on this, and there was definitely a need for it in my community of Philadelphia. And I just found the research and the possibilities with rehab and MS so fascinating. So I'm honored to be here and speak with you. I love your page and all the motivation you bring to this community. So I think we're going to be a good team, and this will be an interesting topic.
Thank you so much. So, so you usually basically work with people that have MS that already have some disability or a limitation in their movement. And how do you really help them?
Yeah. So, what I talk about a lot is that no two people with MS are the same, and you can't really generalize anything to treat every single person with MS. So I see people that are very functional, that just need some advice on how to safely exercise and what things they should and shouldn't be doing because of their MS. And then I also see people who can't get out of bed because their deficits are so significant. So there's a huge range here in the MS community, and a lot of different exercises that are beneficial depending on where you're at and what your individual needs are.
Yeah, thank you. And I know one of the things that I'm hearing a lot of people saying is, conversations about fear, that once there is a flare up and there is an effect on the nerves and as a result effect on movement, they're afraid life will never be the same. It's like some of them even think that's like done, life is over based on the life they used to know. Mm-hmm. And I know that your knowledge can create a lot of inspiration here and make people understand that it's not true. Like we can reverse things. Right. So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so that's what I kind of want to spend most of this time talking about. And it's the most fascinating thing that I've learned and I've done research on is this process called neuroplasticity. And it really shows how resilient our brains are and how fascinating this process of neuroplasticity is. And neuroplasticity occurs when we practice any task. So some people may have already heard of neuroplasticity, but I'm going to go in a lot of detail about it. I also just wanted to let people know that I have a blog on this on my website. So if you learn a little bit better by reading things instead of me verbally talking about it, feel free to check that out and spend a little more time on it. But basically, neuroplasticity is this process of our brain that uses neural networks to create change and growth through reorganization. So I know that seems like a big topic, but I'm going to break it down and then really tell you how you can make this work. So just bear with me with the crazy definitions, but I'll make it make more sense. So to elicit neuroplasticity, our brains use these neural networks, which I mentioned, and those are complex algorithms that recognize patterns and interpret data. So here's some examples. One is if you can picture somebody that's trying to balance on one leg. So they are getting ready to balance on one leg. They put their left foot down, raise their right leg up. And as they're getting ready to do this, they their body notices that it's not going to work and they're going to lose balance. So their arms fly up and that their leg has to come down before they fall. So a lot of people might recognize that as a failure of the attempt, but what's fascinating and what neuroplasticity is that if you continue to repeat that pattern, your brain is going to start to recognize what it's doing right and what it's doing wrong, and how it can help you use more efficient muscle groups to help you stand on one leg longer. And that's just an example, but it happens with every task and every new thing that we're trying to learn or improve. So I just had some things written down that I want to make sure I talk about. But so yeah, I mentioned, so your brain is recognizing like, I used these muscles, but then we ended up falling forward. I'm going to try to recruit these muscles to keep us up taller and prevent us from falling forward. So this method of recruiting these the correct muscles, is your neural networks happening and working in your brain. So the most basic way I can explain it, and what's really important for you to know, is that repetition is key to getting this neuroplasticity process going. So it can be really frustrating to lose your balance if that's what you're working on. And you might, someone might practice trying to stand on one leg, realize they can't do it and just give up on it. But if you keep practicing and you keep working on it, your brain's going to get more efficient at recognizing these patterns, and you're eventually going to be able to stand on one leg for a little bit longer. And that's something that, someone can do that doesn't have MS, but it is 100% something that anyone can do that has MS too. So it works for us no matter what is already happening in our brains.
So what I'm hearing you saying is basically, when we have a certain goal, a certain movement that we want, to do, our brain understands the goal that we have, and whether or not we succeeded, it's learning what's working, what's not working. And the more we do it, it can find the way to make it work just in other ways that are not the original ways we used to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So for us, eventually, it doesn't matter how it happened in the body, we have the ability to gain the movement.
Right. Yeah. And there's a topic that, like, another way that neuroplasticity works that I'll get into, but what you just said is exactly right. So, it's changing when we think of, I tried to do this and it didn't happen, or I failed. If you change your mindset away from that and thinking, I'm going to keep practicing this and my brain is eventually going to figure out how I can do this more efficiently, then it's going to encourage you to keep trying. And that's really what neuroplasticity is keep going. Your brain is working with you and for you to make this task that you're trying to do happen. So it's really cool. But there's actually like a specific way that neuroplasticity works in our brain is when you have a lesion or a deficit. So this is specific for MS now. So it recruits, so say there's a lesion of a part of our brain. For example, there's a section of our brain that's responsible for coordination. So if you get an MS lesion in this area of our brain, you can have difficulty being steady on your feet, and you might use furniture to help you walk, which I see a lot in the MS community. Mm-hmm. So how can neuroplasticity help this? Well, with repeated practice of a specific task, other areas of our brain that are not affected can learn the responsibility of the lesioned area of our brain, which would in turn improve your coordination. So it's super fascinating. And I'll tell you like a true story about someone that this really helped. So there was a 24-year-old woman who went to her doctor complaining of nausea and dizziness. And after a series of tests, it was found that she was born without a really significant portion of our brain called our cerebellum. And she lived 24 years of her life without knowing this. And how this happened is that her brain adapted and learned how to perform the responsibilities of the part of the brain that was missing. So, if I were to lose my cerebellum right now, I probably would lose my ability to walk because my balance, coordination, and posture, which is what the cerebellum does, my deficits would be so severe because I would lose all of that. But this woman, from birth, when she learned how to walk, it took her longer to learn how to walk, and it took her longer to learn how to speak. But because she kept trying. Kids are so resilient, but because they keep practicing until they do it. And then eventually other parts of her brain that shouldn't be responsible for balance and coordination learned how to do those things because it recognized that the area that normally does those things was missing. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So I do want to say possible at any age or with any condition?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, for her, if I were to lose that area of my brain right now, I wouldn't be as mobile as she was because it happened to her at such a young age. But if I continued to practice, I would be able to eventually improve the areas like my balance and coordination. But that's, an important topic too, is that neuroplasticity isn't perfect. If you can't do something, it's not a guarantee that you're going to perfectly be able to do it if you continue to practice it. But neuroplasticity can create really significant improvements in areas that you're having trouble with because of lesions in your brain.
Wow, that's amazing. So how do you do it? Like certain specific movements maybe that are controlled?
Yeah, so there's a lot of research that shows like an efficient method to initiate neuroplasticity. And then there's also some basic principles of neuroplasticity that I'll talk about. But first, a really important thing that you should always do before you practice something is do some form of aerobic exercise, because that not only is it really good for preventing any injury because you're warming your muscles up and getting ready to work out, but it also is kind of getting your brain moving and realizing that you're about to exercise and about to do something, so that when you go to practice the task, your brain's already kind of ready to go and in the mode that knows that you're exercising. So always spend, I say, at least 5 minutes on aerobic exercise. And aerobic exercise is really just anything that gets your heart rate up and gets your mind and body focused on exercise. So an easy one that I'll recommend if someone has difficulties standing is just kind of rather pumping your ankles up and down or marching your knees up and down, and just continuing that until you feel like your body's getting kind of warm. You could also just sit in a chair and use your arms. I don't know if you can see me. Use your arms to just kind of like act like you're in a boat rowing, and that can get your heart rate up and get your muscles prepared. A medium method for aerobic exercise is like repeating sitting and standing, or it could be like doing a walk around your house for 5 minutes. And then a harder one for people who are like really high functioning would be maybe jumping jacks or a boxer shuffle, or standing marching, or walking or jogging. But just spend at least 5 minutes on aerobic exercise to get your body ready for this neuroplasticity process.
All right. So all three options, doesn't really matter how you do it, just move based on what you can do.
Yeah, and just get your body and your muscles warm is what is really important. But then, there's 10, they're called principles of neuroplasticity that researchers have found. And I'll talk about a couple of the most important ones, but repetition, which I already mentioned, is one of those principles. Repetition matters. So the more you practice things, the more likely your brain is to recognize these patterns to make improvement. Intensity matters is one of the principles. So if it's, I'm not a believer in like no pain, no gain. I don't think that that's something that we need to work on with the multiple sclerosis community. But I do believe that if you're not challenged, you're not creating change. So if you are able to stand, then try some of those exercises in standing. And, if you're not able to stand, do an exercise in sitting that feels challenging for you. I mean, it's not always something that we want to do because sometimes the easier ones are more appealing, but intensity matters for this neuroplasticity. So always find a way to continue to challenge yourself. Some of the other ones are use it or lose it, and use it and improve it. So use it or lose it is, if you don't ever practice balance, then your balance isn't going to improve and it's not going to get better. It will probably get worse. Or if you're able to walk, but you kind of stop walking, then you're going to eventually lose your ability to walk because the muscles that control our movement for walking are going to become weaker. and then use it and improve it is kind of the opposite. So if you're able to walk, continue to walk. If it's safer for you to do that in an assistive device, I'm all about that. Just continue to use it, and eventually you're going to improve it. And then, yeah, there's a lot. There's 10 principles. Those are just kind of the most important ones that I think are a little bit more applicable to exercise and for the community.
Would you say it's true to say about everybody, or just after an injury? So if there's a person that was diagnosed and currently have full range of movement, no disability, just no limitation in the body, what can you recommend is there anything they can do to prevent injuries or disabilities?
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great question. I have components of exercise programs I give for people, no matter how high functioning you are, there is a component of balance that you can and should be working on so that you don't lose your ability to do that balance. So if you're really high functioning and you might not practice balance because you don't think you need to, but standing, if you can stand on one leg for 30 seconds, or I'll do this exercise where you just walk really slowly and focus on like all the different components of your gait, it's called, which is just your how you walk. That's a really good thing for balance. And doing those things is going to be preventative, like you mentioned, and also delay deficits, such as like foot drop is a really big one, or falls is another huge one. So I always encourage a balance component of an exercise. But also, like, another component is strengthening, and there's room for all of us to get stronger. And one big thing I think most people don't do that they should do is add weights to their exercises. So even if it's just starting at 1 pound or something really light, like a can of soup, even while you're exercising. So because I can sit here and do this all day, just curl my muscles. But when I want my muscles to get stronger, I'm going to add weights, and that's just a way more efficient method to improve.
Any kind of weights, like if it's the legs, the hands?
Yeah, I think just a traditional dumbbell is where you're going to get most of the benefit from. I use these things called power blocks, and I have a video demonstration of them on my Instagram page, but they're like adjustable dumbbells that mine go from I think 5 to 50 pounds. And so I think you can get any strengthening, any muscle component done with dumbbells. You don't have to get really fancy with your equipment. I would just get a set of dumbbells.
Okay. So if there was some, let's say somebody had a flare up and, it affected the movement, what would you recommend to right away do? Start doing it, practicing alone, going to a professional? What would have them getting as close as possible to full range of movement again?
Yeah, so it's hard to say because everyone's flare-ups are so different. But I think one of the biggest things that people can do with a flare-up is get started on something as soon as possible, even before you feel like you can. And maybe that would be, it's a lot way lighter than what your normal routine would be. So maybe you're not using weights during a flare-up. But if you're laying in bed, you can like slide your legs, you can move your arms, practice repetitive movements without any weight. Or if you're able to walk during a flare-up, try to get up and move like little bouts, but more regularly. So kind of just trying to get back to things as soon as possible is when you're going to make the changes and try to get back to where you were before a flare-up.
I see.
So that's another actual principle of neuroplasticity, is that time matters. And as soon as you can, as soon as you feel capable of getting up and moving or doing little exercises, even if it's starting really light and then gradually making it more challenging as your flare-up subsides, that's a huge key to getting stronger.
Can you speak more into that?
Yeah. So I guess it's hard to generalize, but I can give some examples. So I just had someone with a flare up, and they were, I think, a week into the flare up before they called me, and they were starting to feel like they were able to do a little bit more, but during the week leading up to that, they were just really not feeling themselves. And I always encourage listening to your body, but they were asking me what they could do. So I came to see them, and we just started really light. We started doing some different things lying down to get her body moving. And then we sat up and tried to do a couple other things. And then we were just repeated sit to stands. And normally she's someone that can walk fairly well. But so just taking a couple steps back from her normal and then gradually increasing the amount that she's doing every day has brought her back to near where she was before this flare up.
I see. So if somebody listening to us today and they had a flare up, they didn't right away do the right movement to gain the same ability they lost, is it too late, or what should they do now when they're listening to you?
No, yeah, I don't think it's ever too late for anybody to start doing exercise. And like I mentioned too, I see people with very severe deficits that can't get out of bed, and I always tell them too, there is things that we can do to make improvements and change. And I think making like specific realistic goals that are short term are really important. So what you want to do in a week, and then what you want to do in a month. So if you're going through a flare up and you've lost a lot of your abilities, just set maybe a small goal of sitting up in a chair for 2 hours a day, if that's something that you haven't been doing, or make a goal to grab a 1 pound dumbbell and try just a few different upper body exercises, or stand up and sit down every other hour, or just setting small goals that are specific and realistic for where you are is a really good place to start. And it's never too late to make an improvement or make a change.
So I hope you all heard that. No matter how you're feeling right now, no matter what happened or what you can or cannot do, you can still move forward by doing the right work. So I'm really happy that you said it, because, a lot of people are being really discouraged. So I hope that all of you are listening right now, needed to hear that, to get the motivation that maybe it was lost. Motivation is a big deal when it comes to this work, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I did write down a couple of my favorite tips for getting people motivated to exercise. And I think the number one, if I were to say any one piece of exercise motivation I could give you, is to try to change your mindset of exercise from being like a chore or something that you have to do, or just one more thing on your list of your busy day that you don't want to do. If you can take that, get rid of it, and start thinking of exercise as your time to do something for your body that's going to help you and to make a change. And it's your selfish 30 minutes or however many minutes you can dedicate to exercise a day, where you just focus on yourself and just focus on making improvements in yourself. And you put your headphones in and listen to your favorite music, and just think about your body and what you can do to make it stronger and make your life a little bit easier and better, because every single person is capable of doing that. And I think it really starts with changing your mindset away from the negativity and into the positive aspect that you can create change in your body.
Yeah, that's so important. That's a big deal. I mean, I feel like everything starts with this. If we're not motivated to feel better, the chances we will, no matter where we start, are not very high.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've never met someone with MS that hasn't been able to improve and get stronger and get better. And I truly believe and know that every single person with MS is capable of achieving their goals and making improvements in their life.
I love hearing that. What else can you share with the community so they know that, life can be amazing. Even with MS, we can reverse what we don't want to have. Share with them some of your amazing knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of changed my mindset on exercise and my body after working with people in the MS community. And I think what's so empowering and powerful is the knowledge of like knowing that you can't control or change what MS is doing to you, but you can control how you respond to it and what you do to make your life the way that you want your life to be. And you're capable and able to do that. So just, trying to change your mind is honestly the biggest thing. And I'm not saying that, that's all you have to do to heal MS by any means, but it is a key to being happier and feeling more in control of your body and your life.
That's powerful. Yeah. Sorry. You want to say something?
No. Yeah, no, I'm really passionate about that and trying to, change the way that people think about MS. And I don't know, I can sympathize that there are things in life that we can't change, but we do have control over how we respond to that and what we do about it. So I hope that if anything, people get that out of this message and, maybe a little bit of encouragement to create a routine that includes something for you that's not selfish by any means. It's would change your life and will change how you can interact with, maybe your work or your family when you start by taking care of yourself.
So true and so important. Yeah. And once we take care of ourselves, we have the ability to give more, to do more, to be more for other people. So absolutely. It definitely starts with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other exercises that maybe you can share that people can start doing right now in their homes alone?
Yeah. So I'll talk about like some balance exercises that, I talked about a lot. And I think that it's a huge missing component of most people's exercise programs. But so if we go to like levels, I'll say level 1 is, maybe somebody that isn't able to stand up. I would have you start by practicing sitting at the edge of your bed and have like maybe 1 or 2 people, one in front of you and one behind you for your safety, and just practice trying to sit up. Maybe first with support of your arms and then second without any support of your arms, and just practice balance, then practice kind of leaning forward and leaning back just in a small range. And then when that gets a little bit easier, try to make that range bigger, lean forward, lean back, and lean side to side to try to build your strength of your muscles and your arms and legs. And then eventually the goal for that person would be to have your feet on the floor and lean far enough forward that you're almost standing up and you're lifting your glutes or your butt off the bed to try to get the legs, to get your legs to carry your weight and to try to get your legs stronger. But for people who are able to stand, I always have people start standing in the corner of a room. And this will be in the videos that you have a link to in the comment section, but stand in the corner of a room. And the first level is trying to stand with your feet close together. So your toes kind of touching this and trying to hold that for 30 seconds. If you're able to do that, the next level would be standing with one foot in front of the other, like you're standing on a tightrope. And then the next one would be trying to stand on one leg. And if you're able to do that, then I have some advice and tips in the video on some more challenging balance exercises, but those are always 3 really good places to start to do the narrow base of support, I call it, and then standing with one foot in front of the other and then standing on one leg.
And based on what you said earlier, then you recommend to repeat it every day, right?
Yeah. I try, I would try to every day. You don't have to do all of those every day. Just pick the one that you had the hardest time with and spend about 5 minutes trying to practice it and, alternate which foot's in front or which leg you're standing on, depending on the exercise. But spend, 5 minutes improving that until you're ready to move on to the next one. And I have some videos and tips on social media and in the video on little ways to make that harder and more challenging.
Yeah, so I actually really love how you're sharing, exercises on social media. Could you share with the listeners where can they find you? I believe this can support them.
Yeah, so it's on Facebook and Instagram. It's BrainHab PT. So Brain HAB PT is where That's my website and Instagram, social, and Facebook. I share most things on Instagram just because I like that platform the most, but I do share things on other areas too. I'm trying to get a YouTube channel up too for more like video specific content.
Yeah, and Samantha actually created especially for you, a video with different suggestions and different exercises where she's going to show you exactly the movement, and you can safely follow at home. So this is going to be shared together with the interview right here, so you have access to it right now as you're watching this. Samantha, anything else you'd like to add? Any tips, any thoughts?
I think we covered a ton of awesome information. I feel like I could talk about exercise and MS all day. But I love the motivation that you give. And, a lot of this, it just came from healing MS and you reaching out to me to do this video. So I'm really thankful that you gave me the opportunity to talk about this and create these videos that are just great free resources for people. I think physical therapy is important no matter what level you're at with your MS. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that I think people that are highly functioning and newly diagnosed don't get physical therapy soon enough, or at least get this advice on how you can exercise soon enough, because preventative care and delay of deficits is so huge with MS. And the sooner you get started on something, the better. But again, it's never too late.
Samantha, thank you so much for your time, for your tips, for your knowledge, and for the priceless gift you prepared for the community. I'm sure so many people are going to benefit from it. And everybody who's listening, follow her. She has great exercises to follow, all free. You're all about giving, and I much appreciate it. So thank you again so much for your time.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love doing this, and I hope we can do something similar in the future.
That would be wonderful. Goodbye.
Bye.